Welcome back, true believers and all you merry Marvelites, to another very exciting episode of Avengers Project 101. So even though we finally received a story trailer of Marvel's Avengers at E3 2019, along with getting a glimpse of some gameplay within said trailer and even an official release date of the game on May 15, 2020, there are still quite a few people who are left a bit dissatisfied after having to wait so long to actually see any footage relating to the game ever since its reveal in January of 2017. And now that we're currently only left with a few trailers relating to the Avengers project, as well as a behind-the-scenes interview with the main cast of the story, a lot of people are now wondering when we are going to see more of the game next. Well, luckily, it seems like we may have some official confirmation as to where and when we could see more footage of the Avengers project in action. Not only that, but given that we only have to wait less than a whole year until we can actually get our hands on Marvel's Avengers, I do believe I have been able to deduce when and where we can expect more footage and possible gameplay of the Avengers project to show up in the months building up to May of 2020. And unlike Spider-Man PS4's case, where we could only see more footage of the game in action at specific Sony-related events, the Avengers project is indeed a multi-platform game. So given the fact that this game is not one of Sony's huge heavy-hitting exclusives, I do believe that this allows for more marketing possibilities while we do build up to the month of May in 2020. This doesn't just mean that we could be updated more frequently compared to that of Spider-Man PS4, but I also think that the game will show up at more gaming-related events compared to what Spider-Man did in the past. But as I said previously, there is another major event occurring within the coming weeks, which will definitely be an amazing place to show off more of Marvel's Avengers to the general public. And as you should all know by now, I'm obviously referring to one of the biggest conventions that can occur within July is none other than San Diego ComicCon. So not only was the main head of the Crystal Dynamics studio, Scott Amos, heavily teasing during E3 2019 that they could in fact showcase more footage of Marvel's Avengers at this year's San Diego Comic-Con, but it's also been revealed on the official Comic-Con website as to which specific exhibitors are going to be attending this year's show, and lucky for us, there is in fact both Marvel and Square Enix attending this year's con. So specifically for last year's case, Marvel Games had an incredible panel at Hall H discussing all of the upcoming games that were coming from Marvel Entertainment, mainly relating to Spider-Man PS4. So given that Square Enix is directly attending this year's Comic-Con alongside of Marvel itself, I do think there is an extremely high chance that we could receive another trailer of the Avengers project, alongside with some gameplay that could either be shown off to the public who is attending Comic-Con directly, like that of the behind closed doors demo at E3, or mainly relating to what the best case scenario is show off the awesome gameplay that could possibly be improved at Comic-Con and then release it online for the entire public to watch for themselves. I also believe, just like last year, that if Square Enix is going to show off more of Marvel's Avengers at this year's Comic-Con, I do think we could also receive some cool merchandise items that do relate to the game that could be revealed during the panel. This obviously relates to hot toys, Funko Pops, and all the other cool items for all you collectors out there like myself who are very much interested in getting every piece of merchandise that does relate to the game. And to top it all off, I do think that there is also a highly likely possibility that they could bring in all the voice actors who are playing the main characters of the Avengers project to actually physically appear during this panel. Still, given that both Square and Marvel will be attending Comic-Con this year, I would definitely say keep your eyes out for any announcements that may be revealed pretty darn soon relating to the upcoming convention. Now moving on, even though I'm almost 100% sure that Marvel's Avengers will appear in some manner during this year's Comic-Con in San Diego, I do think the next convention the game could appear at is one that Square Enix does attend from time to time. Plus, given that this convention in particular mainly resides on the West Coast itself, I think it would be too great of an opportunity to miss to showcase more of the game at this specific gaming conference. And in case you're unaware as to which conference I'm talking about, I'm mainly referring to PAX West, which does take place from August 30th to September 2nd. So primarily for Square Enix's case, they have had playable demos of some of their games at these PAX conventions from time to time. However, even though I could definitely see them releasing another trailer for the game during PAX West, I don't think it'll necessarily be playable during the convention itself. This is mainly because the game itself is still within the pre-alpha stages of its gameplay development, so I don't really know if it would necessarily be ready for the public to try out as a playable demo by the time PAX comes around. So while I remain extremely confident that we will receive more footage of Marvel's Avengers at San Diego Comic-Con, PAX West is still a mystery. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see until late August/early September to find out for sure. Now up next is an event which was actually pretty darn huge for Spider-Man PS4 before that game did come out all the way back in October of 2017. And specifically with the later month of October getting into the more festive side of things with Halloween, there is actually another conference that does relate to the gaming industry that does occur within that same time frame. And in case you forgot as to what this convention actually is, it's none other than the Paris Games Week. So So like I said previously, the main reason as to why the 2017 Paris Games Week was so huge for Spider-Man PS4's case is because that is where we received our very first ever story trailer of the game in action. This is where we finally got to see our first looks at the in-game models of all the main characters of the game's story, like that of Peter Parker, Mary Jane, Aunt May, and more. And even though we didn't necessarily receive a release date of the game during that time, it was awesome to actually just see a lot more of the main narrative that was centering around that game's story. However, this is a bit different compared to the Avengers case, since that's essentially what the A-Day trailer was during E3 2019. And while it would be very much appreciated for us to receive another Avengers project trailer during the Paris Games Week / Halloween season, I'm not entirely sure what else they could show of the game's story without giving too much away, and also due to the fact that people would mainly want to see gameplay instead of the main story that we do currently have already. But on the other hand, I definitely think that the Paris Games Week trailer for Spider-Man PS4 definitely helped the game out during the time of its marketing, so I could easily see Square Enix and Marvel do something similar for the Avengers case during October of 2019. Now with that said, this event is actually the last one that could take place within 2019, where a lot of people would be excited to get some information about the game during another big gaming related event. Not to mention that there is a possibility that Marvel's Avengers could be nominated for the most anticipated game of 2020 during this specific event within December of 2019. And if you've guessed by now, I'm mainly implying the Video Game Awards hosted by Jeff Keighley, which does take place each December. Now if you do happen to recall from last year's Game Awards, Marvel Games did actually have a presence there where they did unveil the worldwide trailer debut of Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. And even though we were all expecting that particular instance to be the case where we finally got a trailer relating to the Avengers project, now that we do actually have quite a lot of info about it from E3 2019, I do think they could actually showcase another trailer of the game during this year's Game Awards. But again, I'm not necessarily sure what they could show relating to the game's story if they do end up showcasing a trailer that doesn't really give a lot of spoilers to the main narrative. So if anything, I do think it would be very cool if during the Game Awards they could showcase a brand new hero to be featured within the Avengers project roster, either with that of Hawkeye or another character that a lot of people are looking forward to. So out of all these conferences that I've listed so far, I doubt that we would get any gameplay of the Avengers project during the Game Awards of this year, but I still think a trailer during that time is highly likely. But now with the entirety of 2019 out of the way, we are now moving into the brand new year of 2020, where we only have approximately 5 months until the main release of Marvel's Avengers. So within this 5-month time gap, this is where the marketing would start to pick up speed for Marvel's Avengers to truly get the audience excited to buy the game and showcase a lot of trailers getting people excited for what the game has in store. This would also be extremely relevant in case the other conferences that I did previously mention end up not showing any new footage or gameplay of the Avengers project in the slightest. And once again, just like how we received a whole month of information relating to Marvel's Spider-Man, including that of the release date within April of 2018, I do think something very similar is going to happen with the Avengers project within the early frame of 2020. And of course, as obvious as it sounds, I'm definitely implying that we will most likely receive a full-on month of coverage from Game Informer relating to Marvel's Avengers within the early months of 2020, either in January, February, or March. Not only have both of the previous Marvel games received really great Game Informer coverages with that of Marvel's Spider-Man and Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, but I definitely think Marvel's Avengers will get the same treatment with lots of awesome announcements and updates relating to the game before it does release in May. This could obviously relate to various developer interviews regarding multiple aspects of the game, as well as hopefully deep dive character profiles of all the main Avengers. And essentially as a similar fashion as to how Ultimate Alliance 3 handled their marketing with Game Informer, I do think each day we could get a separate breakdown and profile discussion as to a different hero that is going to be featured on the Avengers project roster. And hopefully during that time of the Game Informer coverage, the overall cast of characters that you can play as will be more than the standard 5 that we do currently know about. Because as it looks like right now, the main 5 Avengers within the A-Day trailer are going to be the central focus of the narrative that is surrounding the game's story. But with the other characters that were teased already, like that of Hawkeye and Ant-Man, I really do hope that they also share some sort of importance during the game's narrative as well. And finally, after the Game Informer coverage for Marvel's Avengers ends, I do think we would only have to see a couple more trailers and a launch trailer for the game until its inevitable release on May 15th, 2020. So like I said at the beginning of this video, I do think that there are a lot more instances this time around for them to showcase a lot of cool trailers and gameplay snippets of Marvel's Avengers before its release on May 15th, 2020. And with San Diego Comic-Con and Game Informer essentially almost confirmed at this point, I'm also really excited to see what else they're going to showcase for the game throughout these coming months. But in the end, the main thing that's going to matter during all this marketing is whether or not it's going to convince people that this is in fact going to be the quote-unquote definitive Avengers gaming experience. And with all that said, everyone, that's the video I have for you today, and please let me know all your thoughts in the comments section down below. What do you think of this possible marketing layout that Marvel's Avengers is going to have, and out of everything that the game is going to eventually promote, what do you want to see the most from this game? For me personally, I really want to see how each separate character is going to differ in terms of the story and the gameplay to truly make them feel different from the other characters that you can play as in the standard roster. So fingers crossed that we end up receiving some really cool deep dives of these characters' backgrounds and their gameplay assets that will be featured in the final game. But until that time comes, everyone, thank you all so much for watching, stay merry Marvelites, and peace out.
I can't believe it. Look at it, it's perfect, it's red.
That's the first ever red PlayStation.
This is the first time anyone's ever seen it in public, so thank you for bringing that at ComicCon.
We're right up there.